Hey guys, welcome to the kitchen. Today we're making squash puppies. Everybody's asked, and I couldn't remember if I did a video or not. I didn't go back and look, but we're cooking them tonight, so we're going to just make a new video. It is in my recipe book called Cooking Southern Style with Deepsouth Homestead. There are no more of these books available, but if you have one, look on page 30. The second one, called Squash Puppies. Now in this, I talk about using fresh squash. Okay, if you have fresh squash, you're going to have to cook them and get them mushy and drain them and get the juice out, and you're going to use what's left after you drain them. Today, I got a jar of squash. Our fresh squash, I didn't want to use in squash puppies. I just cooked them stewed them down with some onions. So, first thing when you open a jar of your fresh squash, these are from 2017, is you drain them. So I'm going to put these on to drain while we talk about the rest of the recipe. Okay, so I'm going to be doubling the recipe today. It calls for 3/4 of a cup of cornmeal and 1/4 of a cup of flour. So we're going to double everything, and I have all this stuff ready. We're going to be mixing it up in a minute. It calls for 1 egg, 1/2 cup of buttermilk, 1 chopped onion, and then your oil for frying. Okay, instead of buttermilk, we use almond milk around here. So I took my almond milk here, and I added lemon juice to it. I added just about a 1/2 teaspoon of lemon juice to approximately nearly a cup of milk. And I set it to the side and let it make buttermilk. In the buttermilk, I added some of our dehydrated onions that we made here from Onions at Deepsouth Homestead. I put just about a good little handful in there. And so my onions are rehydrating in my buttermilk as it makes buttermilk. So I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to mix all this together. Now, the recipe calls for deep frying like you would hush puppies. We don't deep fry a whole lot around here anymore, so today I'm going to be using some lard that we rendered last year, and I'm just going to put enough in there to just keep everything from sticking. And I'm going to, instead of making big gigantic hush puppies, we're going to make like fritters, like pancake type things. So they're going to be laid out, cooked, and then flipped. And we may have to add a touch more milk to it to get it a little bit more, I guess when you're making fritters, you don't want them thick and packy. You want them a little bit more runny. So you have to adjust your recipe. Now if you're doing hush puppies, follow the recipe because it will make them hold together better. And instead of just regular flour, we're using a gluten-free flour here today. Our cornmeal here today is yellow cornmeal. It's just cornmeal. It's not a mix or anything. So I had to add salt and baking powder to it in order to make it self-rising. So let's get started mixing it all together. First, we're going to add the cornmeal, salt, baking powder, and flour. And we're just going to mix it all together. And this is our dry ingredients. You kind of want to get any lumps out. Mix the baking powder up in there pretty good. Oh, there's one ingredient I forgot that is not in the list, and I usually do this just because Danny likes a little sweet. I've never added it usually before, but about 2 tablespoons of sugar. Most hush puppies do have some sugar in them. Okay, there goes that. Now we're going to add our squash that's been drained. Okay. I drained the squash and dumped it in. Now, according to how much moisture you take out of your squash, you may have to adjust your milk. Because if you're making hush puppies, I learned a long time ago, you do not want them too runny. And so it's kind of a touch feel thing if you're a seasoned cook to know the texture that you want with hush puppies. It was a very learned experiment, because if you don't do hush puppies just right, you end up with your dough coming apart in the grease. So these are going to be fritters. I'm not that worried about it. And I've got the squash kind of mixed up in there. And I'm going to go ahead, I've got about 3/4 of a cup of milk, onions, and lemon juice, since that was almond milk. And we're going to mix this up. Okay, so this is the consistency we have right now. And you can see it's not sticking together very well. So while I'm heating my oil, the last ingredient I'm adding is going to be eggs. And these are homegrown eggs from Deepsouth. And adding the eggs makes it, you can see, a little more fluffier, plus it sticks together. And if I'd have beat the eggs just a little bit before sticking them in, it would have made them even fluffier. And this way, this is a little bit soupy, so in order to make fritters, I'm going to just dump it by a spoonful in there. If I was making hush puppies, I would not want it this wet. I would add a little bit more cornmeal to it to firm it up. I think my grease is getting there. Okay, this burner is kind of hard for me to regulate, so we're going to try and not burn anything. And I just kind of scoop them out like you would pancakes. And we're going to brown them on each side. We're going to cook them till they're brown on the bottom, flip them, and cook them on the second side. And that is the homemade lard that we rendered last year. I'm going to let these cook for just a few minutes, and then I'm going to flip them. And you can see the light brown color of these once you flip them. If you want them darker, you can cook them a little darker. I'm just trying really hard because this is my one burner that has limited control to not burn them. And I kind of mash them out a little bit, and basically you're making a squash fritter or pancake type thing. Doesn't that look great? Okay, so guys, here are our hush puppies. Actually, they're squash puppies. And you can see some of them are a little browner than others. It's just according to how hot the oil got, or how little or more oil each one got. So you just fry them like you would pancakes. And guys, they're delicious. We use them as a side dish, like you would cornbread. Hush puppies, by putting a touch of sugar in it, it makes it a touch sweet. Tastes more like the hush puppies you would get when you go out to eat with your fish. You can eat it with anything you want: peas, beans, fish, any meat. It's great with soups, anything like that. So guys, here's my squash puppy recipe. Enjoy.